It was dawn in northern Michigan, the kind of quiet morning where mist rolls off the water like smoke and the air tastes clean and cold. My 9-year-old daughter Zoe stood on our dock clutching her fishing rod, still half asleep, eyes wide because she didn't understand why a sheriff's cruiser was crunching up our gravel driveway. There was Darlene Cresswood out on her manicured lawn, 58 years old, bleached highlights, head to toe Ralph Lauren, pointing at us like we'd committed a crime. All because we dared to fish on our own property. What Darlene didn't know that morning was that she'd been running a fake HOA for 8 years, collecting $34,000 from neighbors under false pretenses, and that I, Marcus Whitfield, actually owned the private road serving 6 houses on the block, including hers. 3 days after she threatened to have my family arrested, I handed her an eviction notice for the house she'd lived in for 12 years. My name is Marcus. I'm 43. I used to be a commercial real estate analyst. Sold my consulting firm a few years back and semi-retired. Recently divorced. Amicable joint custody of Zoe. I'd moved to Lake Harmon, population 3,200, for what I hoped would be a simpler life. I bought a modest 1970s ranch on Lakeshore Drive for $340,000. It needed work, smelled like pine cleaner and old carpet when I first walked through, but it had 200 feet of waterfront. Standing on the back deck that first time, looking out at the lake with mist rising, I knew this was home. I grew up working-class Detroit. My dad was a union electrician. He taught me how to read contracts, how to spot the fine print, how to find hidden value in distressed properties. That's how I built my career. I bought this house sight unseen during the divorce fog. The realtor Earl mentioned quirky neighborhood politics. I waved it off. How bad could it be? Zoe loved the lake immediately. It was the only bright spot during the custody transition. I spent those first weeks doing honest work, replacing dock boards, patching the roof, smelling tar and feeling splinters under my fingernails. Then I met Darlene, self-appointed president of something called the Lake Harmon Shores Preservation Committee. Her husband Roland runs the local insurance agency. Their town fixtures, Rotary Club, Township Board connections, the whole deal. They live in the biggest house on the block, a Victorian renovation worth about $890,000. She drives a white Lexus SUV with the vanity plate LK Shore 1. Week 2, she clicked down my dock in heels, that sharp aggressive sound on the wood planks. You'll need to submit a waterfront usage application, she said, all smiles. We manage lake access to protect property values. I was confused. I own the waterfront. It's a public lake. She thrust a 3-page document at me. $500 annual maintenance fee, rules about dock colors, boat sizes, guest restrictions. I politely declined. This is a public lake. I own my shoreline. Her smile froze. The air thickened with her perfume. Gardenia's gone chemically sweet, almost nauseating. Everyone who matters participates, she said, emphasizing matters, like a threat. You'll regret making waves. That night, I Googled Lake Harmon HOA. Nothing registered with the county. Called Earl. He laughed nervously. Darlene's thing. Most people just pay to avoid the hassle. My instinct said something was off, but I wanted peace for Zoe. I filed away the property survey I had found buried during dock repairs, faded county recorder stamps, and decided to ignore her. She'd move on. Wrong. My neighbor 2 houses down, Betty Alomar, retired teacher, 71, brought homemade cookies still warm in their heavy cardboard box. Welcome to the neighborhood, she said quietly. Then she glanced toward Darlene's house, nervous. Just a heads up, Darlene doesn't handle no well. My husband and I learned that the hard way. She wouldn't elaborate. Just patted my hand and left. I should have paid more attention. 3 weeks later, Zoe and I were settling in. Saturday morning, maybe 7 a.m., early September chill. Coffee in my thermos mixing with the earthy smell of lake water. We're on the dock teaching Zoe to cast. The line whispers through the air. Darlene marches down in athletic wear and sun visor. "You're in violation of quiet hours," she announces. "No waterfront activity before 9. "There's no HOA here," I said, trying to stay calm. "We're just fishing." She pulled out her phone, started taking pictures. The clicks were deliberate. "You're disturbing the ecosystem and violating community standards." "I'm documenting everything." Then she showed a laminated card. Lake Harmon Covenant Rules, printed to look official. Claims all properties signed back in 1987. I never signed anything. "Your property is bound by prior agreements," she said. "Check your title. Covenants and deed restrictions must be recorded with the county to be enforceable. If someone waives a document, ask for the recording number. No recording, no standing. Period." Monday morning, I went to the county recorder's office. Musty smell, decades of files. Clerk named Janine helped me pull everything on Lakeshore Drive. 0 recorded HOA documents after 1985. Even those had expired. Original covenant was generic. No exotic paint colors, minimum square footage, nothing about lake usage, fees, or committees. Janine confirmed, if it's not recorded, it doesn't run with the property. I printed the records, wrote Darlene a polite letter, hand-delivered it to her mailbox. Per county records, no HOA or restrictions exist. Please stop misrepresenting legal status. 2 days later, Roland showed up on my porch at evening, porch light attracting moss smacking the bulb. His cologne hit first, woody, expensive, overpowering. "Marcus, let's be reasonable. The fee helps maintain neighborhood quality. Voluntary community investment." Then his tone shifted. "Darlene's just protecting our property values. Your house needs work. Wouldn't want code enforcement noticing issues." I felt my jaw clench, tasted metallic anger. "Are you threatening to sick the township on me?" Friendly advice between neighbors. His handshake was too firm. Dominance play. Next morning, Township Inspector Darrell in my driveway. Apologetic guy in his 50s. Got a complaint about unpermitted dock work. He checked everything, found nothing wrong. "Between you and me, we get a lot of calls from Lakeshore Drive. Someone has the non-emergency number on speed dial." That's when I realized Darlene had connections. She was willing to weaponize bureaucracy. This wasn't about harmony, it was about power. I reassured Zoe everything was fine, but inside my competitive instincts woke up. The same drive that made me successful in real estate. If she wanted to play games with fake authority, I needed to understand what was really happening. I started keeping a detailed log, dates, times, interactions, photos. Every threat, every fake document, she was building my case for me. People who abuse authority always make the same mistake. They think documentation protects them. It protects the person smart enough to collect it. A week later, neighbors started avoiding eye contact. Betty stopped returning waves. Anonymous note in my mailbox. "Troublemakers don't last long here. Sell now while you can." The paper rattled in my hand. I could hear my pulse. Then Zoe came home upset. Her classmate's mom uninvited her from a Halloween party. She said her mom heard we're problem people. Zoe fought back tears. Darlene was running a whisper campaign. I talked to neighbors discreetly. Pattern emerged fast. 5 families paying fees for 5 to 8 years, over 20,000, probably more. Why pay? Easier than fighting. Roland insures most homes, implicit threat. Darlene orchestrates social exclusion, book clubs, holiday parties. One neighbor, Greg Hawthorne the plumber, fought back once. Suddenly couldn't get township permits for his business truck parking. Textbook extortion disguised as volunteerism. Real HOAs have elections, financial disclosures, accountability. One person collecting money with no oversight? Theft with extra steps. I contacted the Michigan Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division. They were interested. No legal structure, no tax filings, no incorporation. Collecting under false pretenses, fraud. They needed a formal complaint with evidence. I decided to attend Darlene's monthly committee meeting. Uninvited. Wednesday evening I walked into her house. Massive dining room, overwhelming floral wallpaper, chandelier too bright, scented candles, vanilla bourbon clawing the throat. 7 neighbors in Victorian chairs, uncomfortable. Darlene presiding like a corporate board meeting. Spreadsheet, printed agenda, antique clock ticking. Since I'm a property owner, I'd like to see incorporation papers and financial statements. Pin drop silence. Temperature cranked up. Discomfort as intimidation. These meetings are for members only. You're trespassing. Your email said all Lakeshore Drive residents. That's me. Where are the financials? She called the sheriff. Deputy Shane Morrison, early 20s, uncomfortable. Darlene claimed harassment in her home. I explained calmly. Deputy pulled me aside outside. Sir, I'd recommend leaving. Crestwoods have pulled. I left, noted the system was biased. Driving home, knuckles white. This wasn't a spat anymore. It was rigged power. I thought of Zoe excluded, neighbors scared. I decided, not backing down, but smarter. Late that night, laptop glowing, cold coffee beside me, I pulled property records for the entire block. Original developer, Harmon Lakeside LLC, bankrupt in 1993. Assets sold at auction. Who bought? Something nagged. Real estate doesn't disappear. Saturday morning back to the dock. 6:30 a.m., pre-dawn light, mist, algae and earth smell. Peaceful. Darlene appears from the tree line, Lululemon, coffee tumbler triumph. I warned you about quiet hours. You're trespassing on shared lakefront. This is my property. No shared areas. Waterfront collectively owned by the committee. Check the plat map. She called the sheriff. You're trespassing and endangering a minor on restricted property. 20 minutes later, Sheriff Tom Braddock arrived, gray temples, tired eyes. Zoe clung to me, hand cold. Darlene in full performance, sweet voice damsel. This man refuses rules, harasses me, now using restricted waterfront. I stayed calm. Sheriff, I own this property including waterfront. No HOA, no restrictions. County records prove it. Braddock uncomfortable. If property dispute, civil court, not criminal. But Mrs. Crestwood filed formal complaint. He pulled me aside. Look, I know how this seems. Crestwoods contribute to sheriff's election fund. I have to respond. But between us, you're right, civil, not criminal. Get a lawyer, document everything. Maybe don't fish before 8 for a while. As he left, Darlene called out for neighbors watching from windows. Maybe now you'll learn to respect community standards. This neighborhood has values. Zoe was crying. Daddy, why is she so mean? I took her inside, made blueberry pancakes. Mechanical while mind raced. I contacted an old colleague, Simone Traz, forensic title researcher. Trace every property back to original ownership. Looking for truth. Leverage bonus. 3 days later her report arrived. 40 pages, hot toner smell. Bankruptcy auction 1993. MLW Holdings LLC bought developers' remaining assets for $47,000. Private roads, vacant lakefront lot, easements, management rights. MLW went dormant after purchase. Never dissolved. Then in my father's estate papers, Transferred to him 2008 as part of union pension settlement. When he died 2018, passed to me. Only child. Listed as miscellaneous Michigan real estate. No value in probate. Nobody followed up. I own the roads. Owned access. Owned the 80-foot strip between Darlene's house and public road. Called Simone at midnight. Triple checked. You own the roads. You own access. You could dissolve the subdivision structure if you wanted. You are the developer of record. I smiled for the first time in weeks. This was thermonuclear. Needed careful use. I printed key documents, stored in safe deposit box. Bank smelled like carpet cleaner, fluorescent hum. I couldn't just evict. Legally possible, but I'd become villain. Goal, exposure. Fraud documented. Money recovered. Power removed. I created anonymous survey. Lakeshore Drive neighborhood expenses. Hand-delivered to 11 neighbors excluding Darlene. 7 responded. Total collected over 8 years, $34,500. Supposed expenses, road maintenance, lake monitoring, legal fees. Actual work, 0. No paving, no testing. Consulted attorney Preston Hall, 60s, property law specialist. Office smelled like leather, old books. He reviewed. Airtight. You control access to 6 properties including Crestwoods. We discussed. Civil suit slow, expensive. Quiet title establishes rights, but doesn't address theft. Criminal complaint hard without AG. Best. Create situation where she incriminates herself publicly. Approached Betty. She paid $2,400 over 6 years. Promise no removal. Never happened. After husband died, kept paying because scared. Darlene said she'd make sure driveway cleared if paid. Never did. Betty cried. What do you need? Steel in her voice. Met neighbors individually over 2 weeks. Greg lost $8,000 in business from delayed permits. Alicia, nurse, paid $500 a year, threatened noise complaints. Tim and Jen, young couple, paid under pressure. 6 families willing to testify, provide records. Darlene and Roland financially overextended. Big mortgage, declining insurance agency, high taxes. House rich, cash poor. Can't afford to lose the house. It's their identity. I sent certified letter requesting special meeting for financial transparency, citing Michigan nonprofit law even though fake. She scheduled it. Can't refuse without looking guilty. Invited media. Local paper Lake Harmon Gazette. Editor Karen Sue hungry for story. Front page material. Week before, Darlene launched reputation attack. Roland called neighbors. Marcus destroying property values. She posted on neighborhood Facebook. Concerned about new resident filing frivolous complaints. She filed another bogus complaint, dock unsafe. Inspector annoyed. 3rd bogus call. Can I file harassment? Technically yes, but Crestwoods have friends on board. Then she crossed line. Anonymous tip to Zoe's school suggesting unfit home environment. Counselor called me in. Dry erase marker smell, child artwork. I explained, provided documents. This is adult conflict, not child safety. Fury settled, controlled, dangerous. She weaponized child services. Malicious. Intensified research. Crestwoods behind on taxes. Roland's agency had complaints. Subpoena committee bank account. Balance $12,000. Neighbors paid $34,500. Where's the rest? Withdrawals. $800 monthly to DK Consulting, Darlene. $1,200 administrative fees, no receipts. $3,500 for unrelated legal. $2,000 luxury furniture labeled office supplies. Embezzlement. Shared with allies. Betty stared at documents. She's been stealing while threatening us. Greg shook head. Money for roads. I've patched potholes myself 3 years. Tuesday night set. I reviewed checklist on yellow legal pad with my father's old pen. Documents certified. Witnesses prepared. Attorney standby. Media invited. Trap set. Monday before, Darlene emailed emergency vote to expel me. Preston laughed. Creating paper trail of fraud. I replied all, looking forward. Bringing documentation of finances, legal status, property ownership. Tuesday morning 5 a.m. adrenaline. Reviewed folders. Preston arrived with paralegal, video equipment. We're documenting. 5 p.m. Roland at my door. Aggressive. Withdraw accusations. Darlene prepared to file defamation. You don't understand how things work. I understand exactly. See you at 7. 6:45, media parked discreetly. 7 p.m. I arrived at Darlene's with Preston and 6 neighbors. Front door open. Darlene gracious hostess. Living room arranged like board meeting. Victorian throne chair. Refreshments, cookies, coffee, wine. 3 strangers, her attorneys from Cranston and Wells. Expensive suits. Message, overwhelming force. Preston whispered, she's panicking. Innocent people don't need 3 lawyers for neighborhood meeting. Room too warm. Heater cranked. Scented candles, wine, perfume, artificial. Darlene stood. Welcome to quarterly meeting. Tonight address concerns raised by Mr. Whitfield and reaffirm standards. I interrupted politely. Before we start, I'd like incorporation documents and bylaws. State law requires availability. She flustered. Not on agenda. Let Attorney Mitchell Crane intervened. Private voluntary association. Not subject to those. If voluntary, no authority to collect fees or enforce restrictions. Which is it? Darlene lost composure. I'm not being bullied in my own home. Marcus signed covenant when he bought. No, I didn't. No recorded covenant. Betty stood. I want financial records. Where did my $2,400 go? Greg stood. I paid $3,200 over 6 years for road maintenance. Nothing done. Testimonies poured out. Threats, extortion. I spoke calmly. We can do easy way or hard. Show bank records for $34,500. She shook with rage. How dare you? Slander. Only if false. I have records. Preston projected spreadsheet on wall. Payments, dates, amounts. Then bank statements. Withdrawals visible. $800 monthly to herself. Personal expenses. Darlene screamed. You don't belong here. You bought cheap house. Think you can tell us how to run neighborhood. This is my street. Lethal calm. Actually, Darlene, it's not your street. It's mine. I pulled final document stack. 1993 bankruptcy. Developer assets auctioned. My father's pension fund bought. Transferred to me. I own roads, access, subdivision management rights. Silence. 5 seconds. Clock ticking. That's impossible. Recorded with county. What number? Pointed to projected map. See 80-foot strip between your house and road? That's mine. Your access crosses my property. You've used my easement 12 years without permission. Darlene sat heavily. Chair creaked. Roland entered. You're bluffing. We've lived here 12 years. Preston, adverse possession requires 15 years in Michigan, only if without permission. Mr. Whitfield revoked permission. Sheriff Braddock entered. Someone texted him. Took in scene. Darlene crying, lawyers uncomfortable, neighbors angry, media recording. What's going on? I'm documenting theft and extortion. Mrs. Crestwood collected under false pretenses 8 years. Filing complaints with prosecutor and AG tomorrow. These neighbors witnesses. Braddock looked at Darlene. Ma'am, is this true? Sobbing. No answer. Karen Sue stepped forward. I'm with Gazette. Comment on allegations? Get out of my house. Smell of fear. Sweat, stress, spilled wine dark red on white carpet. I addressed room. Here's next. Anyone paid fees gets money back from remaining 10,000 and Darlene personally. Fake rules void. Private road needs maintenance. I'll form proper transparent HOA if wanted. Elections, bylaws, oversight. Dues reasonable. Stunned silence. Then Betty clapped. Greg joined. Alicia. Others. Applause, cathartic relieved. Attorneys gathered papers. We'll send Bill. You'll need criminal defense. We don't do that. Darlene abandoned, small and oversized house. To Roland, 30 days to repay every neighbor. Full amounts plus interest. Or criminal charges and easement revoked. Your choice. How do we? Not my problem. You benefited. Figure it out. We left. Me, Preston, neighbors, media following. Week 1 after, Darlene and Roland scrambled. Sold Lexus, $48,000. Cashed life insurance, $31,000. Payments flowed. Certified checks, hollow apology letters. Betty deposited $2,400, donated $1,000 to animal shelter in Larry's memory. Prosecutor filed charges: fraud, embezzlement, extortion. Plea deal: misdemeanor fraud. Restitution paid. 2 years probation, community service, permanent injunction against forming associations. Roland lost clients. Agency closed. Took employee job at State Farm. Couldn't afford mansion. Listed, sold at loss. Moved to condo 45 miles away. Smaller. Anonymous. On sunny Saturday, we watched moving truck leave. Diesel fading down street. Betty said, I thought I'd feel more satisfaction. Mostly tired. Justice isn't always satisfying. Sometimes just necessary. I called neighborhood meeting at community center. Proposed actual voluntary HOA for road maintenance only. Elected board, public financials, professional management. Dues $150 a year. All approved. Elected me treasurer. Hired independent auditor. Proper HOAs protect when done right. Accountability. Used road ownership positively. Converted vacant lot to public kayak launch. Partnered with county parks. Small parking, boat ramp, trail. Grand opening July 4th. Zoe cut ribbon. Plaque, in memory of Matthew Whitfield, union man who taught his son to stand up for working people. Cost $15,000 out of pocket. Worth every penny. Late summer evening Zoe fishing again. Golden light on water. Daddy, why was Mrs. Crestwood so mean? Some people think control makes them important. They forget kindness matters. Are we staying forever? If you want. This is home. Betty became Zoe's honorary grandmother. Bakes cookies, babysits, tells Larry stories. Greg and I fish together, watch football. Started annual block party every September. Casual. Genuine. 1 year later, same lake edge spot as sheriff morning. Full circle. Thought of father, unexpected inheritance, justice. Realized real estate skills. Finding hidden value, apply to life. See what others miss. Be patient. Precise action. Not semi-retired anymore. Started consulting business, helping fight HOA fraud. Website, referrals, pro bono for those who can't afford. First client, woman from Indiana. Similar. First thing I told her, get county records. Everything starts with knowing who owns what. Newspaper article ran front page. Local man exposes years-long extortion. Semi-viral. State news. Reddit thousands sharing HOA nightmares. Advice repeated, document. Check records. Don't assume authority. 3 months later, letter from Ohio law firm. Client, read your story. Wants assistance. HOA foreclosing over 400 in unpaid fees for pool that doesn't exist. I smiled, reached for phone. But that's a story for another time. If you've got an HOA nightmare, share it. Let's see how many petty tyrants need taking down. Some battles worth fighting, especially when you know the system better than the bullies.